Hello everybody, and welcome to a new Music Tuesday version of Domicile Diaries. I am absolutely just in the domicile today, kind of hanging out, cozy, comfy, all is good in my space, which is our theme this week. So for our new Music Tuesday, I'll let you know what that song is. It's going to be Dave Matthews Band, The Space Between, which is one of my all-time favorite songs. Love that song. So moving on from that, we're going to get into our whole theme this week of space. That final frontier, as I wrote on Sunday. You think about it and you're like, well, space has got a lot of different connotations. This is my space here, and I'm in my space, and I have my head space, and then we have outer space. So what do they all really mean? Like, how do they function, and how do we relate to those spaces, and how do we relate to the spaces of other people? When you look at outer space, and I like to think about that quite a bit, I like to, on a cosmological scale, these huge things, and you think about all of the millions and millions and millions of stars and all of the galaxies and everything in our solar system and all of the planets, and you look outside and you see our planet and how big it seems sometimes, and you realize that there are billions and billions of other galaxies out there, and still what occupies most of that space is nothing, just space. Space itself occupies most of the space between everything. There's more of that out everywhere than there is anything else, which is baffling also. You're like, yeah, well, it's kind of like here on Earth, we have more atmosphere around the Earth than we have Earth, right? And more space around it. And when we're looking at also the space in our heads, like our own mental space there, and what does that really mean for us? How does that function? You know, if I'm in my own head and I'm using my imagination, and I close my eyes, I can imagine the entire universe with all of its space and all of its galaxies and all of its stars and all of its things. I can imagine the whole world. I can imagine a whole nother human being with thoughts and processes and acts and everything else that go along with it. And I can hold all of that in my head, in that space inside my head. Now, if I'm relating to someone else in their space, they can do the same thing. They have their own way of thinking and looking and being able to close their eyes in their own imagination in their own world. And we have completely different things, no relation to one another in those head spaces, right? In those imaginative spaces. But those places are also real in some sense, right? They are products of our brains, and they're real in some sense. They're not just, oh, well, that's imagination. It's in your head, it's in your space, it's in your brain, it works inside of you, so it's part of you in a certain sense. And if that is the case, and we have something that's completely unrelated, but we're all completely connected, how does this work? Well, that's the space between you and me then, right? We have to learn to deal with those spaces between you and me, and between how different things are, as different as your imagination is from my imagination. We have to look at it and come together and find a way to harmonize. And we have the connection anyway because we're both physically here in this space, on this earth, right now, in this time. So those are the things with space that I like to play around with. I like to think about. I like to look into. I like to look at. And I like to think about, how we can operate in that same space and in this space of the world that we know, this physical space that we have, in cooperation with one another for the betterment of all of us in this space. Food for thought, something to think about, something that I like to think about anyway. I hope that you guys are all safe and well and happy, and I'll talk to you later.